5 richest persons in Africa. These are some of the biggest billionaires in Africa you can find anywhere when you Google and get to understand the story. This is according to Business Insider, and we have to share it with you guys. Before I start, I want to talk about somebody coming out in my comment section to speak about US having the largest music industry in the world, while countries like China and India with the largest population still they don't have a large music base in the world. When your music is not crossing international boundary or being accepted across international boundaries, you cannot become big by yourself alone. Check how many collaborations US people they are having with other countries of the world when it comes to entertainment, and check the infrastructure they've built over the years because of this achievement. As a result of that, crossing international boundaries into other nations, they are casting their influence on other nations, and that is actually paying off at a time like this. When you look at the Nigerian music industry across Africa, you get to understand that Nigeria not only having influence in Nigeria, they are still having influence in other African nations because they are constantly collaborating and pushing their music across international boundaries. That is another help for you guys, and you have to look at it from that point of view because you cannot really develop your music industry alone. 5 richest black billionaires in Africa. Number 5, we have Strive Mesiyiwa. He is from Zimbabwe, and this guy is into telecommunication, and this guy is worth over $1.9 billion, a whooping sum for a black billionaire. He is the 5th richest man in Africa. Number 4, Patrice Motsepe. This guy is from South Africa and worth over $2.4 billion. Is into mining and other business ventures. South Africa has one of the biggest economy in Africa, and we can really praise them for that. Number 3 on my list is Mike Adenuga. He is a billionaire worth over $3.1 billion into telecommunication in Nigeria. This guy has actually impacted in the communication industry in Nigeria and across Africa to an extent. He's the owner of Globalcom, really winning with that industry. That is something I can really see. Number 2, we have Abdulsamad Rabiu into cement and sugar. It's worth over $6.1 billion. A lot of people can really attest to that in Nigeria based on what they see that comes in from these guys' factories. Number 1, we have Aliko Dangote with $9.8 billion. And this guy is known for cement and sugar, and he has actually impacted in Africa at a time, and he's also a philanthropist to an extent. He has one of the biggest refinery being built in Nigeria, Africa at a time like this. Are you not comfortable with the list? I want you to put your own list in the comment section so that we take a look at it. Top 10 gospel artists in Africa. I want to be reading the list to you guys. I hope that a lot of people find a place to actually slot in their artists at a time like this. While some other persons will agree, some people will be controversial about this whole thing. But this is the list prepared from Afrobeat blog based on some statistics and some of the data we gather. I'll be counting from number 10 down to number 1. Number 10 is Ntokozo Mbambo from South Africa. This artist is one of the biggest artists when it comes to gospel music in Africa. She has a lot of records to her name, and she has a lot of awards to her name, and she got a lot of streams in 2023. We have to celebrate this person at a time like this. Number 9 is Kambwa from Kenya. She rose to fame in 2012, and she got a lot of awards and records to her name. She is a TV host also, and she is really immersed in gospel activism. Number 8 is Nathaniel Bassey. He is a Nigerian trumpeter and a gospel artist and a songwriter. This guy has a lot of credit to his name, and he has actually impacted in the gospel music environment in Nigeria. We cannot really celebrate achievers and music artists in the gospel environment in Nigeria without talking about Nathaniel Bassey. Number 7, we have Tim Godfrey. Tim Godfrey is a special gospel artist in Nigeria. He has a lot of hits to his name, and this guy has really collaborated with international artists on a global scale and has achieved a lot of good feats in the industry. We have to give him number 7 on our list. Number 6, we have Sonny Badu. This guy is from Ghana. He's also a pastor, the founder of Rock Hill Church in Atlanta, USA. He has achieved a lot of good feats in the industry, has a lot of awards to his name and a lot of credit to his name. So we leave him on number 6 on our list. Number Number 5 is Joe Mito. This guy is a Ghanaian artist. He is credible for gospel activism. That is something I can really say. And he has actually impacted in the music landscape of Ghana to an extent. This guy is well listened to by a lot of Christians in Nigeria and some African countries at large. And he has also influenced some of the young people in Ghana towards gospel music. Number 4, we have Benjamin Dube. Benjamin Dube is a South African gospel artist and has a lot of credit to his name at a time like this. We have to celebrate this man for actually giving us a lot of content when it comes to music for Christ. South Africans are really doing well enough in the gospel environment and they need to keep at that. Number 3, we have Mercy Chinwo, a Nigerian artist. She is really one of the biggest gospel artists in Nigeria because of the popularity of her songs, and she was the winner of Naija Idol Season 2, and ever since she has been giving us back to back when it comes to hit songs and the gospel realm. Number 2, we have Prosper Jemo. He is a gospel artist in Cameroon, has a lot of credit to his name. He has a music school called Rema Music School. He is actually impacting in the lives of many people in Cameroon and across the Cameroon boundaries. Has exerted influence in gospel music in Africa. We have to celebrate this man. Number 1 is Sinach. Sinach is a Nigerian gospel artist. She has a lot of credit to her name, including the most streamed gospel artist from Africa at the time. She is really getting ahead of others in terms of gospel activism. She is a member of Christ Embassy Church. She has impacted in terms of donations to that ministry. She has some of the biggest gospel hits, Waymaker and I Know Who I Am, and she is really impacting lives with this. On my list so far, what is your own take about this? I want you to put that in the comment section what you feel about my list. You can decide to rearrange and make your own submissions about the list. Guys, when it comes to economy, statistics about the economy, we should be careful with it, especially when it comes from the World Bank, IMF on Africa. That is something you need to understand. A lot of people don't really understand that there's a kind of policies going on at the World Bank, the IMF. That is why you see some kind of economic wars happening between big nations around the world, and we should be careful around this thing. China, US, and Russia, these countries are some of the biggest powers in this particular world we are living in, and they have economic war on Africa. That is something you need to understand at the time. China is really taking over African economy, while US is still interested because they have established a stake in the African economy. Russia is coming in with their BRICS, and that is what we need to understand at this. Somebody came out to say, you know what? South Africa, they have high buying power than Nigeria. When you talk about high buying power, yes, South Africa has it statistically. That is something you need to understand. Buying power depends on the attitude of the population.